Zubair, it's nice seeing you again. Peace be upon you.
Peace be upon you too. I haven't been on the show for a few weeks. It's nice to be back. Nice to see you. How's things in America?
It's good. We're like, it's been quite some time now, like after we did the first show. And I think people are staying locked in. They're staying good. There's some protests here and there. Some people not taking this seriously, but let's see how everything goes. Overall, generally, I think people are excited, at least the Muslims, for Ramadan. Uh,
Yeah.
there's a lot of unknowns for the Ramadan and the lockdown. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a unique situation. I mean, something that we've never experienced ourselves. The holy month of Ramadan actually happening in a lockdown. So how do we deal with that? From nutrition to prayer to all these different aspects of spirituality. How do we actually link it all together in this holy month when we're all isolated?
Just the fact that it's our first Ramadan like this in this manner, there's a lot of unknown, but there's a lot of online programs that people are doing, following, watching.
In the countries that we live in the UK, and obviously you're in America, people have a sense of positivity that they can get through this together. And Ramadan is another example that, as Muslims, a lot of people were thinking maybe Ramadan won't happen, or there's issues with fasting in this month. But in the same way, we've stayed positive. Everybody is fasting. There's millions, if not billions, of people around the world that are fasting and taking part in it. And fasting is not just for Muslims. I mean, it's been going on even before Islam, and all other religions also participate and have some kind of fasting as part of their spirituality. So we're going to speak to an imam later on as well about that. But I feel like
you've been working out during all this lockdown. What's going on? How are you staying fit?
yeah, I mean, I've been trying to go for a daily jog. There's also a guy in the UK called the Body Coach. He's been doing online, I think it's on YouTube. He does a daily workout.
I think a lot of people, they are focusing in on online workouts. I was speaking to a personal trainer just like a few days ago, and he told me that his clientele has increased a lot.
Yeah, I mean, even when the lockdown started, a lot of my friends would message me and say everyone's going to gain weight because we're binge eating, right? We're just sitting there watching TV, watching the news, being scared, and just putting donuts. And now Ramadan has come, people have become even more conscious that they need to eat the right food to be able to fast for that long amount of time. We're talking 16-hour fast.
I've even heard that bodybuilders, they fast like every now and then because it increases the blood flow in your body. And obviously there's more scientific things to it, which I think we'll have our medical doctor is coming in today. He's a primary care physician and assistant secretary of health and fitness of the Ahmadi Muslim Youth Association. His name is Yamin Khalil. So I've invited him over to specifically talk about these things. Yeah. So I believe you also invited somebody from the UK for our show today.
Yeah. So we've got Adil Ahmed, who's going to come on the show. He's actually a PE teacher. So he does physical education in school, and he went to university and studied exercise and sports nutrition. So he's a key expert in this field. He's a great guy. He does sports himself. He's a good football player. So he's perfect for this kind of discussion. And we wanted to know exactly what things we can do and everyone watching over the next 30 days to actually make sure that when we do fast, we're actually getting the right nutrition, doing the right type of exercise that actually complements our fast. So all these kind of things, we want to get to know the answers and kind of have those top tips from the experts. So I think it should be a great show.
I'm really looking forward to this because there are so many questions I have about this.
So Adil, let's start with you. What kind of foods are best to retain energy while fasting? So, what kind of things could people eat and make sure that they can fast the whole 30 days and not feel too fatigued and, drained?
So diets are key during Ramadan. I would recommend that people should be getting in their complex carbohydrates on a morning, especially because they've got slow release energy. I might have a bowl of porridge with some honey, but you can also get the same slow release carbohydrates from breads, pastas, rice, potatoes, chickpeas dal for the Asian cuisine. And that'll give you more energy throughout the day, and it'll balance your energy a lot more.
Mm-hmm. Although some people do feel that eating like heavy foods, like oily foods, like parathas, and that actually helps with not being hungry throughout the day. Is that true?
From my own personal experience, I find that oily foods especially really sit on the stomach in comparison when I've had, a bowl of Weetabix or some toast for breakfast. I find that I'm not feeling like that.
So it's better to stick with oats, wheat, or brown bread and
brown rice,
whole wheat bread.
Yeah.
whole wheat
Yeah.
bread.
Absolutely, yeah.
Another thing, just I'd like to add to that, you have to keep in mind the time at which you're going to be insulting kind of your stomach with these foods. If you're up at 4 a.m. and eating heavy, greasy food, laying down afterwards, that's probably going to weigh on your stomach quite a bit. So lighter items are better. The complex carbs are awesome for that. Proteins are great for that too.
Yeah, I mean, can you explain, we're all experiencing this. We're during the month of Ramadan. It's a detox process, right? People are going to first, obviously, the first couple of fasts are really difficult. It's kind of painful too throughout the day. But obviously we get used to it slowly. But can you explain this process of detox, what it is and, how does it work?
What science shows, what studies show, I think what the consensus, more and more the consensus is coming that fasting has a lot of metabolic benefits. And one of them is what you kind of referenced, the kind of the detoxing effect. And it occurs basically through one of our second sources of energy, which is fatty acids, right? So typically when we're eating throughout the day at small intervals, we have plenty of glucose. We don't rely on our fat stores, our fatty acids to make energy. But when we stop having this constant flow of glucose into our system, we rely on fatty acids. And what that does is it generates something called ketone bodies. And these ketone bodies are kind of an awesome source of detox. And so it has all sorts of beneficial effects. And I think that science and medicine in general is coming around to accepting those benefits just now.
Interesting.
Adil, in terms of water intake, so these fasts are quite long, and obviously it's the summer months, and like yourself, people might be going out to work and even be doing physical labor. So in terms of water, how much water intake should people have? And also, can you get water from food? So is there certain type of foods that kind of hydrate the body or dehydrate the body? How does that impact your fast?
So to answer your first question, how much water should you be drinking? There's no set measure. You should just drink as much as you can. I find that, especially at Seri time, I really struggle to drink lots of fluids. Maybe it's just me, but I find that after I've drank about half a bottle, I start to feel a little bit sickly. What I try and do personally, I try and drink 500 milliliters in the morning, 500 if not more on the evening once I open my fast. So I know that I'm getting at least a liter. I know that you're supposed to drink, say, up to 8 glasses a day on a normal day when you're not fasting. So if you can get anywhere close to that during the allocated time that you're allowed to eat and drink, then great. If you're like me and you struggle to, really guzzle a bottle of water during Seri or Iftari times, then just drink as much as you can. Eating foods which are going to retain water and help you and slowly release that water in your body. And you're going to find that in foods which are high in fiber. I also find that yogurt is very beneficial, keeps you hydrated for a lot of the day. So, I like to get a bit of mango lassi or something like this, a bit of a treat as well. But yeah, those are the key foods that I find which help you stay hydrated for longer.
So Adil mentioned actually about fruits. So that sounds like a good alternative for sugar as well, because Yamin bhai, like what happens is people, when they break their fast, there's this urge of eating, first of all, a lot of things, but then mostly sweet things. So, how would you guide everybody listening to this podcast? How would you guide us all how to deal with sugar cravings or withdrawal?
People say that, sugar is terrible and it's bad for you, but it's actually one of the, most basic sources of energy that we have. It's the type of sugar and the amount of sugar that's the problem. And what happens is in sodas and chocolate bars and candy that we eat on a daily basis, it's just simply put, it's an unnatural concentrated amount of that sugar. And what we should do during this month especially is to switch over to sugars that are more sustained release, that are more natural. So dates are an excellent source. Dates have plenty of sugar in them, so you don't want to eat 8 dates, for example, in the morning.
Interesting. And, the Prophet ﷺ also said, take everything in adequate amounts. So even the dates or even the sugars, even if it's a good source of sugar, if it's healthy, but if you overdo it, it's not good.
Yeah, I think I made the mistake once that A couple of years ago, I did a 10K run, and I was so happy at the end of it that I went and had that fried chicken, chip, and like just tons of Pepsi. And I felt great for half an hour, but then after that, it was just it was ultimate crash. And
Oh my God.
I was knocked out of sleep when I woke up. You know, when you wake up and you're in that, like, where am I kind of thing. I don't recommend that for anybody, and especially after fasting, it's like such a long time away from food. If you hit it hard with the fried stuff and the Coke, it's a recipe for disaster, right? But in terms of exercise, working out. So Adil, I know you're a sportsman. You're a good football player, better than me. So I was waiting for the laugh, but you didn't laugh. You took it seriously. So can you explain, I mean, in terms of Ramadan, how can we keep our muscle mass or, keep healthy and active so that after Ramadan we can, go back into the world and be normal?
If you want to, if you're doing all, 29 fasts and you're exercising throughout, you're gonna struggle. And one of the key things is during the fast is stay hydrated. So if you're really working hard and you're sweating, all of that water you've taken in for the morning that's supposed to last you the whole day is just getting pushed out. By all means, maintain some form of exercise, but keep it light. Don't overdo it. And I feel like the best balance to strike is keeping it light, going for a walk and doing light exercises. Try and keep it light. I know that people like to maintain their levels of fitness during Ramadan, but I think playing a 90-minute game of football wouldn't be very sensible.
But I want to bring Yamin in for that, because Yamin, overall people have this thing that if they haven't worked out throughout the year, they're like, okay, let me start something, a regimen for Ramadan, and let me lose all the fat that I can possibly. Can you please shed some light on that? Because I think that really needs to be talked about.
I think Adil hit the key when he mentioned you got to watch your dehydration. I think that's what it comes down to. If you can do a few push-ups, squats or whatever, without dehydrating yourself, I don't see anything wrong with that. That's a fine thing to do.
Sorry, the last question I was going to ask you, Adil, is actually it's two questions in one. One is just to drill home what's the foods that we should avoid, and then the second part of the question is, I know you've studied exercise and nutrition as your degree, and before that, me and Tariq were talking before about, fasting is about food and it's about limiting the amount of food that we have. But what's the real reason? I mean, what's the reason behind it? Is it to create that self-control? What do you think is the main reason behind it?
So just to answer your first question, what foods should we try and avoid? I think keep everything within a balance. Try and get a range of different types of foods but try not to eat anything that's excessively oily or high in salt. Foods like pizza, burgers, chips, basically anything fast food, all the food that we like, essentially.
Yeah.
This food it's more likely to dehydrate you, and it's got very little nutritional value in it. When you are eating and drinking, you want to make sure that you're getting as much nutritional value in your foods as possible. Your second point about how do we benefit from fasting when it comes to self-control, especially. I find that it really develops personal discipline. You go through an entire month of really, really refining your ability to discipline yourself and control, these urges that you have for like the sugars and the fats. I do believe that Ramadan really helps you develop that control and discipline in yourself and helps you overcome these bad habits.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Good.
I had a question about stretching because we were talking about bodies being dehydrated, but I think we're running out of time. We have taken so much of your time, but I'm just going to generally put this out there, and you guys just let me know if I'm wrong on this. That don't overstretch your body when it's dehydrated. It's not good. You might tear up a muscle or whatever, right? So we'll just leave that there, not get too much into it. But I do have one last question for Yamin, and we'll just call it a day. You are serving as Assistant Secretary of Health and Fitness for the Ahmadiyya Muslim Youth Association in the U.S. What are you guys doing specifically to keep the youth active, or any events that are coming up for the youth that we should be all looking out for?
So no events right now because of the current situation that we're in. But what we're doing is basically utilizing what we have, social media. So we're doing Zoom meetings with informational things on them, and YouTube videos with exercises and nutritional tips.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, guys. Really appreciate it.
Jazakallah.
Thanks for being on the call.
So now we have Nuruddin with us, who's part of our team. Nuruddin, peace be upon you. How are you?
I'm not bad. How are you? Thank you for having me for the show.
No, it's good to have you here. Zubair, what an interesting conversation that was.
Yeah,
What
I
are
mean,
your thoughts on it?
it was a great talk we had with Adil from the UK and Dr. Yamin from America. So we spoke about so many aspects of the nutritional side of fasting and how we can keep our energy levels really high during the 30 days of Ramadan. But now we have Nuruddin, who is an imam in the UK. Nuruddin, what are the spiritual benefits of fasting?
Yeah, that's a really important question. But before I get into that, I would like to mention how Islam teaches there is like a really unique link between the soul and the body.
Mm-hmm.
So everything we do with our body has a very deep impact on the actual soul. So all the physical, when we talk about physical cleanliness, let's say, that affects your soul as well. When you fast, it also affects your soul as well. So all these things, it's like a training. So when we are fasting, of course, we are abstaining from food, we're abstaining from drink. The spiritual benefit of that is as if we are not just cleansing our body, we're cleansing our souls as well. Another benefit of fasting is that we are going through a difficult time, and it reminds us that there are people in the world who are doing this every single day. The luxuries that we have, they don't have a phone to open social media and see what everyone's doing, and it makes us think, look, we should be really grateful for what we have. I'll give you an example of this. When I was in Africa, I had a chance to be there for a month in Benin. There was this kid that came up to me and he goes, I have my phone. Can you please just type your number in there so that I can save it and we can keep in contact? I was like, sure. He gave me this flip phone. I opened it and I was like, wow, how am I supposed to type my name and my number in that? Because it didn't have any keys in there at all. They'd all come out. And these people are like so content with whatever they have. And I told him, look, I don't know how to type in that, but he knew everything and he wasn't complaining at all. So this is the kind of thing that reminds me as well. Like when I am fasting, I have to think that these people, they don't have the same facilities and the same luxuries that we have. So we should be, doing this not just to be grateful, but also to be able to change our ways as well.
It's really beautiful the way you mentioned it, because there's so many. We were talking about the physical benefits here in the show before you came in, and you're telling us about the spiritual benefits. There's also this aspect of delayed gratification. Like the discipline is there. You're staying away for something that is right in front of you, and you're not eating it. You're not eating any food, no drinks, nothing. Can you explain that? How can you correlate that with the teachings of Islam?
We are giving up something for the sake of God Almighty. Because he says in one hadith read of the Holy Prophet, peace and blessing be upon him, is that the fasting which you do is for me. God said that is for me. So I will be that reward for you and I will multiply your reward abundantly. So there is that gratification. We know as believers, we know that God Almighty is telling us this, so we want to do it more. And let's not forget that fasting is not something which is just in Islam. It's prescribed. The Holy Quran teaches us that it's prescribed upon you just as it was prescribed to those before you. Now we look in Judaism, they have the Yom Kippur. They have in Christianity there's Lent. Even in Hinduism there's Ekadashi. Where these people they are also fasting as well. And we believe that in all major religions there is a source from God Almighty.
That's a lot of information, useful information. I really hope that we all can benefit from this. And now we have all the different aspects and benefits of fasting during this month of Ramadan, and also otherwise. Fasting is a beneficial exercise, spiritual and physical. Nuruddin, before we go away, can you please share what the viewers can go and to the Review of Religion's website and read about fasting?
Of course. So on the Review of Religion's website, we have just even 2 recent articles which are talking about why do we fast, what is the benefit of fasting, and is it just about eating and drinking, or is it about something else? So these are I think they'll be very beneficial to those who would like to read up on further what fasting is and what the Islamic aspect of it is.
Thanks a lot. Really appreciate your time.
No, thank you very much.
Thank you, Nuruddin. We'll definitely be linking those articles. Let's just hope and pray that we get through this month of Ramadan and reap all the benefits and rewards of it.
Yep, may Allah bless you all.
God bless you too, brother.